Okay, this is Fox back again for another tutorial for ADSR. If you're not subscribed to our channel and you want to, I suggest you head over there. It's www.youtube.com/ADSR tuts. That was a preview of the sound we're going to be going over today. It's a gated pad. In the trance genre, it's often called a Trancegate. It's just a pad given a stutter by use of an arpeggiator. And that's how we get that stutter in this patch today. So yeah, I'm going to go over it step by step. I'll play it through again quickly. There you go, nice rich sound. We get the body of the sound from a Hypersaw, which is best for this sort of sound. It almost sounds like a violin, the way we're getting this sort of staccato, sort of plucky sound using the arp. So I will go ahead and initialize this patch. We'll go ahead and set the oscillators up first. Oscillator 1 and 2 are both Hypersaws. I've been over these in quite a few of the tutorials. If you dial this dial around as far as you can go to the right, it gives you 8 saw waves stacked up alongside each other on each oscillator. That's what we want. First one I'm going to detune to quite heavy, all the way around to about 82, 83. And the second one not so much, about 50. And we're going to transpose the oscillator 2 Hypersaw down 1 octave to -12, just to give us a bit more thickness and fullness in the sound. For oscillator 3 I'm going to use a pulse just to change it up a bit. I'm going to pull this one down 1 octave as well. So all 3 oscillators. You're not going to hear that gated effect at the minute until we set the arpeggiator up. We'll do that next. I'll finish off the oscillator section first. I'm going to set unison to twin, which doubles all the sounds that we've got already. Detune these new voices to about 60. Pan the voices to about 40%. And the LFO phase offset about the same. All 3 of these dials I had pretty much in the same. About 11 o'clock on a clock dial. Really simple to set up there, nothing too crazy. I didn't use any sub-oscillator, no noise or ring modulation. No saturation either. I didn't do anything in the filter section whatsoever. We'll go over to the filter section quickly. All I did was modify the amp envelope ever so slightly. I just backed the attack off a bit because the notes are repeating quite quickly in the arpeggiator. This just stops the clicking at the start of the notes. Tiny little bit of release helps do the same. Just helps the notes transition smoothly. Yeah, so just push the attacker filter out to maximum, so both filters are having no effect. It's just passing straight through. So yeah, no filter modulation, don't change the filter type or anything like that, no saturation. Nice wide sound to give us a good bass to get started with. So we'll go to the arpeggiator now. This is where we, as I say, get the plucky sort of rhythm that we've got going. You want to keep the pattern on user, change the mode to chord. Although in this MIDI clip I'm not actually playing chords, I'm just playing one note at a time. When you have it in chord mode, it means it doesn't pitch the notes up any, it just plays whatever note you've got repeated over to this pattern at the bottom here. So if I play it as it is at the minute, it's going to be pretty static repetition. I mean, that might be alright for some genres, but the Trancegate that I use and that other people use, it's normally 2, 2 and then a holding note. So we will pull this slot all the way down to this point, so you're only using these first 4 sections. And we are only going to be actually using the first 3. So if you click 1, 2 and 3 on, so they're highlighted. Notes 1 and 2 you can pretty much leave as they are. Sometimes I just stretch them out a little bit. You need this gap in between to give the appearance of a gated effect. And the third note we're going to stretch out. You can hear that when it plays over. It goes da-da-da, da-da-da. The third note is prolonged, giving you that classic sort of Trancegate effect. If I shorten this, you'll hear the effect it has. So the hold on the third note is what gives it that real Trancegate effect. So octave range on 1, we don't want it to go up or down any, we just want it to play the notes that we've already got. I had the resolution on 1/16, so 16th notes. This note length is interesting. We're going to set this to a soft knob later on. If you play with this, it gives you, it's like changing the length of these sections here using this dial. You can get it really plucky, or you can get it to feather right out so they're almost touching. When the note length is on maximum, they're all overlapping, so you're not going to hear the effect of the arpeggiator whatsoever. This is handy to modulate if you like doing filter build-up or anything like that. You want it creeping up in the background, starting off as a pluck. It's a real neat effect. So we'll set this to the soft knob now, actually. So if you go into the common section, this destination 1, 2 and 3 are the soft knobs you got in front of your virus. 1 being on the left, 2 being the middle one, 3 being on the right. I'll set it to soft knob 1. You click on this little arrow here, and we want arp note length. You've not got any choice over the range that you set like in the matrix section. It's just, as you look at the dial in here, your soft knob all the way to the left is that, your soft knob all the way to the right is that. So when you play it now, you can play with the soft knob. I like to use the soft knob for this rather than a filter modulation wheel. You've got a bit more control when it's in between your finger and thumb rather than the mob wheel. So yeah, we're getting there now. It's just a few effects just to help thicken the sound up. I mean, you can pretty much use any oscillators or any configuration that you want. As long as you set this arpeggiator up to do this, you can chop and change the oscillators around, the effects. You can give it a bit of filter envelope if you want. But this is how I generally use it. I use the Hypersaw with some analog boost in effects 1. I didn't actually, I changed this to stereo widener. This does exactly what it said. It pushes the sound to the edge of the stereo field. With a gated pad like this, it just helps it fill up some more space in the sound. I had the tune quite high, aiming at sort of the high mids, and the mix round to about 60%. Real good effect that is. You can hear the difference straight away as soon as you dial that in. I used a chorus as well, same reason, just to thicken it up even more, just to give it more depth. I used a hyper chorus. This is my favourite of the chorus types here. Classic and the vintage goes as well. This, it does what it says, hyper chorus. It's the most severe one in my eyes. It thickens everything out quite a lot. I had the mix round to about 92, 93. Crossover. This is blending. What chorus does, it's almost like a unison. It gives you more voices, and the crossover along with the LFO pushes them up and above each other, which gives you that sort of a phasing effect. So I set the crossover at 80 and the amount round to about 2.10, the LFO depth to about 40%. I'll pull it out a sec. Although we're dialing in quite a lot, because the arpeggiator is giving it that plucky sort of feel, you can't really hear it doing an awful lot, but along with the other effects and the reverb we're going to use later on, it does make a difference. The only EQing I did, I just boosted the mids ever so slightly, the volume in the mids to about plus 1.75. Okay, FX2, I use a bit of delay and a reverb. We always use a classic delay I do. There was 3 other modes here. I'm going to go do an in-depth tutorial on the delays in a couple of weeks, just to talk through all these different things. Tape clocked is what you'd imagine. You can set the clock for the left and the right, which is the left and the right ear. Tape Doppler, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's done in a ratio. It's like old school tape delays. tape free. It's the same as a tape Doppler, but you've got time control over the centre and frequency. You've got different controls over the filter to what you have the tape clocked. And yeah, so the classic is the one we're going to use. I'll click this button at the bottom, turn it on. Turn the pattern to 2 and 3. This means it's going to do 2 delays to the left to 3 to the right. It's pretty much like a ping pong. I had the volume on -10 dB, feedback on dead 0. So I'll turn it off and then I'll turn it on so you can hear the difference. It's without and with. Gives it that sort of pumping feel. It's delaying in between the gaps that the arpeggiator is missing out. It's a real neat effect that is. 2 and 3 always tends to work well with this pattern that we've got here. I used a bit of reverb as well just to help it fill it out even more. It was on a small room. The volume was at -8.25. Decay level at around 27. Damping where it is a standard. I didn't use any pre-delay. I pushed the colour of the reverb round to about +19, so it's mainly attenuating the high frequencies. So reverb off. And on. There you have it, that's the sound done. So real straightforward. I'll just chop and change these up a bit just quickly, just to show you that it doesn't really matter what oscillators you use or what configuration you got. I might even set a quick envelope to the filter just to show you what a difference it can make. That's made it quite gritty, pretty quick. Some of these grain complex waveforms are nice, as I say, but I like to keep it on the Hypersaw. I'll just play it in a little track that I've been doing, just so you can hear what you can do with it. There you have it, a lovely trance-gated pad using the arpeggiator within the Virus TI. As always, if you've got any questions about the Virus or any requests, leave them at the bottom, we'll try and get back to you. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers.